My name is Taruna Agrawal. I'm here from the Rise Women's Center. How many of you have never heard about us? Okay, that's not as many people as I thought. Okay, I can work with this. We are, as our name tells you, we're a women's legal center. We have only been around for 3 years. I've only been around at Rise for about a month. Our role is to assist women who do not have lawyers. We're a UBC affiliated clinic. Part of our funding comes from Law Foundation. Binu mentioned this earlier. We've got 6 students, 1 articling student. At the moment, we've got 2 articling students, 3 full-time lawyers, one of whom is our executive director, Kim. Vandana Sood, who supervises the students, Vicky Law, who's our part-time virtual legal clinic lawyer. I'll get into what she does, but it's really important to know she's part-time, so there's a bit of a wait list for her program. And then I'm the family advocate support line lawyer. I'll just call myself FASL. It's easier. My role is to help frontline workers, settlement workers, family law advocates, Law Foundation funded or not, to help them work with their clients. So all of you could call me with any legal questions. Now, family law related, so of course there are intersections with other areas of law. And if I can help you, I will help you. And if not, then I can refer you to Alison Ward, who does poverty law. Either way, I think the organization is a good resource. If you're working with women and you're stuck on an issue, Rise can likely help. Here is a list of our lawyers. So our focus is what does a woman actually need, and not just to address her legal issues. So when a woman calls for an intake, our intake worker, Andrea, she'll talk about everything. Maybe the answer is to help them get legal aid. Maybe they were rejected for legal aid, so the solution is to appeal that. Maybe somebody needs help with a very nuanced issue. Like we had somebody call who was self-representing, but there was this one piece of evidence and she had to make submissions that this is in fact admissible. And there's too much legalese for somebody, even if they're running a trial, to navigate at times. And we had a student write submission on that one particular topic. Students can also take on files represented in limited capacities. So when they first meet with a client, they'll sit down, do an intake, and part of that process is to determine what we can and cannot help with. And then they draft up a retainer that details all the things we're able to do. And students can go to court for provincial court. We don't do Supreme Court applications, but they can do submissions and things for Supreme Court. So if you're working with a client, she's not eligible for legal aid, and doesn't have a lawyer, so the in-between, call us. And Andrea, who's our intake coordinator, was an advocate for 11 years before this. We've all been advocates, Vicky and I also. So we're familiar with the community resources and can likely refer you elsewhere if we're not able to help. We also have summary legal advice. So we have volunteer lawyers. Access Pro Bono does a lot of this. We just do this in a very limited capacity. We've got family law lawyers and immigration lawyers who volunteer with us. So if a woman just needs a half an hour of advice or an hour of advice, that's really helpful. Where we also use lawyers is if the intake person is not a lawyer. So sometimes she'll get them to see a volunteer lawyer to make sure that there is in fact a case for a humanitarian application. And then we sort of use that advice to guide the legal aid application. So there are various things that we're able to do, even if we aren't sure that, even if you're not sure that this is in fact a humanitarian application, we can get the client to meet with a lawyer and go from there. We have student clinics, like I said. They do family law, they do immigration applications. This is all done under the supervision of a lawyer. So nothing leaves the office without a lawyer reviewing it. And our students are very capable. They're very good, they're determined, they're passionate, and they're compassionate, they're talented, they're amazing. We have an amazing cohort of students. We do CFCSA files, so if the ministry's involved, our students are able to help with that. We have a lawyer who volunteers with us and does wills and estates files. So each student I believe only takes on one wills file, so there is a bit of a wait list. But if women aren't able to pay for a lawyer, then call and get them on our wait list. We will eventually call them. We provide unbundled legal services, and these are limited scope retainers. So we'll do legal advice. Students will do negotiations on the client's behalf. We also coach women. They can prepare the script of what the woman can say when she gets to court. So these can be things like an adjournment application, child support, all these things. We're able to draft the submissions. They can do hearings in provincial court that are less than 1 day. We can do protection orders, asset restraints, case conferences. Students are able to represent clients at family case conferences. We have a virtual legal clinic. So we've got one part-time lawyer and other lawyers who volunteer with us who can speak with women over the telephone. And women can be all around BC on issues of family, immigration, refugee law, or criminal law. And the piece that's important for criminal law is that the woman could be a victim or the perpetrator of the file, and that's perfectly fine. The lawyer will speak to them and tell them about their rights over the telephone. The woman and her court case must be outside the area of Whistler and Chilliwack. One thing we do ask is that if a woman's contacting us through VLC, that she be affiliated with a community organization. And there are several reasons for this. It's that we have a place to send faxes or emails because the woman's partner may have access to her email account, or she may not have a place to print things. And the program didn't start out like this. Initially, we were just helping women who were on their own, but people dropped through the cracks. And given that there's such limited hours to begin with, pairing them up with a social worker or a community worker just makes matters proceed so much smoothly, where, we can only do so much, but then you make sure that the woman doesn't slip through the cracks. So that's really valuable. And we cannot assist with matters outside of BC. We're lawyers in BC. We don't really know anything that happens outside of our little bubble. But in BC, we can do. We can do summary advice. We can help with drafting documents, legal coaching for self-represented women. Like I said, they must be connected to an organization. And we started doing webinars as of last week. We've got one this week and one in 2 weeks on Friday. And I think we'll continue. We're using Zoom, and they use video conferencing software. Their communications are encrypted. They've got all these advanced security features. And then there's my program. It started exactly a month ago. The Family Advocate Support Line Lawyer. I don't have a telephone number yet, but my my email address is at the end. So like I said, when you're working with a client and you're stuck on an issue, you can email me, you can call me. You don't have to feel guilty about it. My entire job is to do this with you. And then I can even, depending on time constraints, I can look at forms with you. I can tell you, basically you've got a lawyer to call. I'll stop elaborating on that. I can also provide training to you in your organization. So if you find certain questions come up all the time, or you were initially hired to be a victim service worker and you don't quite know how family law works, and you don't know the difference between just basic vocabulary of the Divorce Act and Family Law Act, I'm happy to come in and provide training to your organization, and I'll have a conversation with you, and I'll tailor the training to you, so then your questions can be answered. I can also do this via webinars, so for those of you who aren't in the Lower Mainland, I'm happy to do a Zoom conference. We also have social work practicum students who help with intake, who can help the woman apply for income assistance, complete family maintenance enforcement program forms. They also help with adjournment scripts. We've got enough people that we can sort of find a way to work with whatever your needs are and whatever the client's needs are. Those are our names and email addresses. We're also all very Googleable. So if you Google Rise Women's Center FASL Lawyer, I'll be there. And like I said, I'm happy to answer any questions. Okay. That's everything. Thank you.